Fawn's Stand, the first in a short story series called Tales of Tempest Hollow by Donnis Hamilton. The wind whispered softly through the sparse patches of grass that still managed to grow in the marshlands. Fawn, her brown coat blending with the earthy hues of the flooded valley, stood at the edge of what used to be her home. Once a fertile green meadow teeming with life. Now, the land was unrecognizable, transformed into a muddy wasteland where stagnant pools of water sat like open wounds. The storm, the fire, and the endless flooding had left this place broken, but not beyond hope. Not for Fawn. Her herd had long since fled to the forest fringes, where what remained of the fertile lands lay in distant patches. They had begged her to go with them, to leave this cursed valley behind, but Fawn couldn't abandon it. This was her home, the place where she was born, where her mother and father had grazed peacefully before the great storm tore through the island. This was where she had learned to run, to leap across the soft grass, her legs strong and graceful. And it was here, now a marshland filled with shadowy dangers, that Fawn decided to make her stand. A low growl echoed across the valley, sending ripples through the still waters. Fawn tensed, her ears flicking toward the sound. Rhyme's wolves had been hunting this area more frequently, driven down from the northern mountains by the fires and landslides. They saw the marshes as their new hunting grounds, their sharp eyes and keen noses making them fearsome predators in this treacherous terrain. But Fawn had learned to navigate the muck and mud as well. She had spent months studying the patterns of the marsh, learning which areas were safe and which could swallow a creature whole in a single misstep. Tonight, the moonlight was dim, casting pale shadows on the landscape. Fawn's hooves, delicate yet strong, trotted lightly across the soggy ground, avoiding the deep sinkholes and murky patches. She had been out foraging, collecting what little she could find for the small herd of survivors that still followed her lead. They had been watching her closely these days, too closely. Fawn knew what they saw, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a hesitation when the wolves howled too near. But she would not show fear. Not tonight. The growl came again, closer now. Fawn's heart quickened, but she stood still, ears trained to the direction of the sound. From the shadows of a crooked willow, a pair of yellow eyes gleamed. Rhyme, his pack must be hunting nearby. For a brief moment, Fawn considered fleeing. Her swift legs could carry her far, and she knew the wolves struggled to keep up in open sprints. But she dismissed the thought as quickly as it came. If she ran now, her herd would follow, and they would abandon the valley completely, retreating to the last remaining patches of fertile land. The wolves would claim the marshes just as Zephyr's eagles had claimed the cliffs after the storms. Another place, lost to predators and fear. No, not tonight. Fawn took a step forward, her hooves sinking lightly into the mud but finding solid ground. She lowered her head slightly, her large, gentle eyes locking with the predatory gaze in the shadows. The wolf stepped out from beneath the willow, his silver-gray fur bristling in the moonlight. Rhyme was smaller than she had imagined, sleek, powerful, but not as monstrous as the stories had made him out to be. His eyes were intelligent, cold, calculating. The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the occasional croak of a frog or the distant rustle of reeds in the wind. Fawn did not move. She did not run. Instead, she held her ground, her heart steadying as the moment stretched on. Rhyme circled her slowly, his paws patting softly on the damp earth. He was testing her, waiting for a sign of weakness, a flinch, a stumble, anything to show fear. But Fawn remained still, her legs strong beneath her. She had not survived the storms, the fire, and the floods just to be driven away now. "You are brave, little dear," Rhyme finally spoke, his voice low and smooth, like the flowing of an unseen current. "But bravery is no match for hunger. My pack is starving. We will take what we need." Fawn raised her head higher. "You take because you believe you must, but you don't have to destroy everything in your path. There is still life here, enough for both of us, if you let it be." The wolf's eyes narrowed, a flicker of curiosity passing through them. "Your words are soft, like the grasses that once grew here, but this land is harsh now, as am I." "The land has changed, yes," Fawn replied, her voice calm, though firm. "But it is not dead. You see only the surface, flooded, broken. But underneath, life is stirring again. The marshes will heal, if given time, if we don't destroy them first." Rhyme paused, his gaze lingering on Fawn for a moment longer. Then he snorted softly. "Perhaps. But survival's not built on patience. It is built on strength." "Strength is not only in taking," Fawn countered. "It's in knowing when to protect what is worth saving." Rhyme studied her in silence, his pack remaining hidden in the shadows. Finally, with a slow nod, he turned away from her. "Perhaps you're right," he muttered. "For tonight, the marshes are yours." Without another word, Rhyme disappeared into the reeds, his eyes fading into the darkness. Fawn let out a long breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She had won, for now. Turning her gaze back toward the heart of the valley, Fawn knew that the marshes would heal one day, just as her people would. And she would be here to protect it, no matter the cost. The island may have been broken, but Fawn's resolve remained unshaken.